just taking a couple of seconds here.
Are you ready to start, Hira?
Yes.
I think.
Yes. Yeah, we're live. All right. Thank you so much. So once again, a very warm welcome to another Friday, the book club meet. And as Shweta just mentioned that she was waiting, and so were we. We were also waiting for this Friday to arrive. So once again, warm welcome. And let me just introduce myself and us, who we are. We are Women on Wealth, and we are a women-centric community. What we do, we help women learn to take charge of their finances so that women can learn how to manage their money and also learn how to grow their money and grow themselves too. So Women on Wealth, so I am Hira Jethanandani, and I have my fellow community member, Kaveri Bharat, and today the two of us will support and take this conversation ahead. And before we go ahead, a quick update on what is this space. This Money Book Club is an initiative, and this we started with the intention that we create a safe space for women to come in and learn more, discuss, and read and learn about money. So the books that we pick here, each month we pick a different book, and we pick books on personal finance, we pick books on investing, financial habits, mindset building, and we keep coming together. So this book club is for all our community members, as well as anyone who's interested, any woman who's interested to come in, to learn, to share. So warm welcome once again. And to begin with, we are continuing to read the book, which is Thinking Fast and Slow, which is by Daniel Kahneman. And we have arrived, we've completed 8 chapters, and today we will move forward to the 9th chapter. And I now open this discussion, and I invite Kaveri also to jump in. And also, all of you, if you've read the 8th chapter, it'll be great to let's summarize this chapter together, and then we could look into the excerpts of the 9th chapter. Bringing you in, Kaveri.
Hi, are you there? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the 9th chapter actually closes the part 1 of the book. And it's an interesting chapter which talks about our substitution, how we tend to substitute a more difficult question with an easy one. Like if you ask someone how they think, how happy they are with their entire life, it's a difficult question to answer. Ask someone, how are you feeling right now? It's an easier question. So our brain automatically substitutes the difficult question with an easier one, and we do it. Similarly, the example they had given in the book was, how much are you willing to contribute towards environmental repairs? Like put an exact number. That's a hard question to answer. But instead, if your brain thinks, how do I feel about dolphins dying? Then it's an easier question. You know how you feel about it. So then you can sort of substitute saying, how much money will I give towards that feeling? So equating the feeling with the amount of money, and that answers the question instead of actually calculating how much you would actually give towards particular environmental things. So the impossible questions are usually require a lot more research. And Hira, that visual which was there, I mean, that's a great visual where they say, they talk about it as the heuristic brain, the heuristic, which is the same derivative of the same word, the eureka, where you just say, that's it, kind of thing. When you need the book.
Yeah, just a second.
Yeah. So there is a picture and they ask you, who is the largest? And there is an easy answer. And there is a more
Okay.
involved one.
4 figures on a ladder, that one, right?
Yeah, no, there are three
Three,
figures.
yeah.
There are three figures
Correct,
Is
correct.
this
on
visible?
a railway track. So you look at
Yeah.
this and you automatically say the last one. The thing
Yeah.
is, if you are a visual artist and you used to drawing perspective and you know how it can warp a two-dimensional place in the three-dimension, then you will actually take a ruler and measure them and see who is the largest. Otherwise, your automatic answer, I'm sure you will say the one on the extreme. Because look, he's almost as tall as that entire train track up to the ceiling. Whereas this guy is not even halfway up. But if you take a ruler and measure, you'll find all three drawings are absolutely the same size. It is because of the way the background is drawn as a perspective, you think of it as the one who's further away looking larger than the one who's closer by. When actually all of them are not further or thing, they're all on a flat paper. So the heuristic thinking we need to be aware of, but a lot of do or die situations, it's that sudden thinking that helps us because we equate our experiences. It draws on what we already know and just says, okay, this one looks bigger, that looks smaller. Most of the time that ends up being a right answer, but sometimes it is wrong. So it's called the substituting one question with another. And he talks about a very interesting way where you substitute emotionally as well. They did an experiment where they asked college students, how happy are you with your life so far? And then asked them, how many dates have you been on this month? And the answers were not correlated. There were some who'd been on lots of dates but were unhappy with their life, and the other way around, or it related, it didn't matter. Then they took another group of students and asked the questions the other way around, where they asked them first, how many dates have you been on this last month? And then asked them, how happy are you with your life? They found that it correlated. Those who'd been on more dates automatically said they were happier because it has already programmed their mind into thinking the happy times they've had in that month, and therefore they think they are happier with their life. So it is a sort of it is into the same thing previous chapters of biases. And I thought it was quite interesting. And the third way they talk about substitution is what you feel about something for what you predict about that. Like asking, will the present government last another 5 years? What you feel about the present government today influences when they will last. You're not actually taking statistics and things and watching what their program is, what their plan for 5 years is, and estimating it like a statistician should for the next 5 years. Your own feelings influence it. So this is what this entire chapter, I've just actually summarized the entire chapter here, because this is an extremely academic book. So what Hira and I were thinking is we can discuss points here, or we can also take that last visual if you have of the table, Hira, where it talks about defining system one. And these are the characteristics. And if we can draw on real life examples where we have felt that these characteristics have shown up in some way in our life, if we just have that on screen, because reading the entire chapter together becomes very academic. So as a book club, you're free to go back and read it, but I thought it would be nice if we discussed the points as a summary.
Sure.
And yeah, so if that's possible, Hira, can you find that last page of book?
Oh, yeah.
Our last page of chapter 9. It's
Right.
quite a long list. I mean, so if you can read it on the screen, any one of you can share any point of time in your life that one of those things, system one, kicked in that particular point. See what resonates with you. Yeah, so this, if you can see these first few points, characteristics of system one. Let me just turn this sideways.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This visible?
Wants to jump in.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to read, please do. And the idea is that these are the characteristics of system one. in any situation, where have you really noticed this, the system one operating? And yeah, so that's really what we're discussing, to actually connect with, okay, how am I operating with system one and versus system two, or system two mostly, right? So
Does anyone want to read this? Can volunteer to read it? Unmute yourselves and go ahead.
I can read.
Yeah.
sure, Meryl.
Meryl. Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Right. So system one generates impressions, feelings, and inclinations. When endorsed by system two, these become beliefs, attitudes, and intentions. Operates automatically and quickly with little or no effort and no sense of voluntary control. Can be programmed by system two to mobilize attention when a particular pattern is detected. Search. Executes skilled responses and generates skilled intuitions after adequate training. Creates a coherent pattern of activated ideas in associative memory. Links a sense of cognitive ease to illusions of truth, pleasant feelings, and reduced vigilance. Distinguishes the surprising from the normal. Infers and invents causes and intentions. Neglects ambiguity and suppresses doubt. Is biased to believe and confirm. Exaggerates emotional consistency, the halo effect. Focuses on witnessing evidence and ignores absent evidence, WYSIETI. Generates a limited
come
set
across
of
in the previous
basic.
chapter. It says what you see is all there is. Why? Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Generates a limited set of basic assessments. Represents sets of norms and prototypes. Does not integrate. Matches intensities across scales. For example, size to loudness. Computes more than intended. Mental shotgun. Sometimes substitutes an easier question for a difficult one. Heuristics. Is more sensitive to changes than to states. Prospect theory. Overweights low probabilities. Shows diminishing sensitivity to quantity. Psychophysics. Responds more strongly to losses than to gains. Loss aversion. Frames decision problems narrowly in isolation from one another.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. So anything that connected, any examples that came up for you, what you could see?
I mean, jumping to conclusions is something I constantly do. Right? Feel like.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything that is a loss, you say, oh God, that will never work. That's typical loss aversion thing. Talking about infers and invents causes and intentions. Like you decide that this must have caused it. This is the intent behind it without actually going into it. I think a lot of us use that system one.
So I think the first one.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah. So the first one, the first point, which says, impressions, feelings, inclinations. So we would have certain feelings or certain inclinations, and then they actually become our belief or our approach. So even if we were to look at our relationship with money in a certain way, and how it could just be an inclination because we may have seen it in the family. That's really how we would have had our impressions about it would have been that way. And then over a period of time, they become our approach or our attitude or our belief, in that area. So that's really how system 1 and system 2 really operate. Yeah. Anything that's connecting with anyone, you actually are seeing that.
Actually, today that ninth chapter connected a lot with me, with the whole idea of substitution questions. When you cannot say, I don't know, I need to research more, you just look for a way to come up with an answer. Someone asks a question, we're so eager to want to come up with an answer. We can't stand that we don't have an answer. So we kind of come up like this question that they've asked, saying, how should financial advisors who prey on the elderly be punished? We're not actually going into statistics and seeing what kind of crimes are punished, how, or anything. We just think, oh my goodness, how do I feel about people who are financial predators? So therefore, worst punishment. It's a jump. We're not actually looking at it saying, okay, this is the crime, this is the punishment, this is what law talks about. What do we think is disproportionate? I think the whole idea of coming up with an easier question to answer rather than having to do the hard work of answering the tougher question resonates a lot. I feel like I maybe I do that too much. I don't know. Is anyone else here who feels like the pressure to come up with an answer?
Yeah, I think what you're saying, the pressure to come up with an answer, absolutely. Feeling the pressure of it, yeah, or also feeling the pressure if you do not have the answer, correct? And then that's the time when the question seems just so difficult. So you may want to not sit with it, and you may just want to say, oh, let it be. So system 1 again operating and saying, oh, forget it, let it be, versus really looking for the answer. Yeah. So I think that's what I can connect with.
And it triggers a lot into our biases, no? I mean, from the previous chapters, we talked about, somebody who's old and wrinkled and with a round face and a pleasant smile. We'll never be distrustful of them. This is like an automatic system 1 that says, oh, such people can't be frauds. They must be good. And then somebody comes with a, scowl on their face and sits off to a side and doesn't want to talk to us. We're like, there's something wrong with that guy. Maybe they just don't want to talk. I mean, that could be it.
Yeah.
These biases that we jump up from.
Yeah. There's some basic pictures of houses, like you draw a narrow house, the children's house with a simple window, and you draw it narrow and you draw the other one big, and you ask any child which is a happy house and which is an unhappy house. It's a very simple experiment, right? And immediately the one that is broad with big windows, you look at it, looks like eyes open, and the other one looks like, So these are very simple, like immediate biases that we draw upon.
For some reason, I mean, Caesar, when he says, "Yon Cassius, hungry look. Such men think too much; they are dangerous." Right from there, we think people who are thin and look hungry and are suspicious, oh, can't be trusted.
But I'll tell you that how it has worked. When I was going to teach in a new university, the faculty there warned the students, said, this one is coming to teach. I'll allow you to bring coffee to your classes because, it's going to be boring. She presumed age-wise. And then she later, she said, I apologize, I said that because I didn't realize that your age had nothing to do with your method of teaching. So, yeah, because of this feedback. So it is, so I said, yeah. So it happens. Some people presume that, the first day, oh, it's going to be like that.
But these presumptions are all system 1. There is no logic.
Yeah.
The presumption we come up with is all our intuition and immediate thinking without logic, without thinking it through and saying, why do I feel this way? What kind of biases is this? Is it actually true? Do we know the person?
I was so against the idea of investment because we as a family, my husband's totally, all his money is in the market and mine isn't. And when the market tanked a couple of times, it looked like the end of the world, right? Because So I thought it was the most wicked thing to do. I refused to invest for years because I thought it's like gambling, like there was a time when one was into the people horse gambling was also happening in Bombay. So I thought I equated everything in like one packet. So I was so biased against it till I began to listen to the wow thing. Then I said, okay, maybe let's give it a chance.
Yeah.
Right? So
Awesome.
it was
I
completely
know.
unbiased.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing,
Yes.
Marty. And this really is the first characteristic that we spoke about. So this was your impression that you sat with for all these years. The impression was that,
Yeah.
oh, market is a stealer, or market is, it's
Yeah.
just going to go down
Right.
and I will lose my money. And that became the belief, right? Perhaps you may have, when the market tanked, and it just endorsed for you that, hey, this is what it is. So it
Yeah.
continued, it became like the belief, versus when you now where you are. So you chose to alter the impression, right?
With educated learning. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And now what you have done is you are altering your belief system, your attitude, your mindset. And because you stayed with system 2, you allowed to question yourself. You allowed to explore this a little more. And so, opening a new avenue for your own self. Yeah.
Absolutely. My husband very surprised, saying the market's gone down. I said, it's okay, it will go up. And he said, really? Last time you told me I had lost all your money. I would blame everybody inside. Hi, mere paise doob gaye. But now I'm okay. It will come up again.
Right.
So yes.
I know. I mean, initially after the money gym course, I was like, okay, this at least is a system. And like, I'm not doing the stocks course. Who goes stocks and all this? That's just throwing your money, gambling. But as I realized, you come up with your financial plan, you realize you need those stocks. Otherwise, that financial plan is not going to work. So I signed on. And you realize there is such a approach. There is a study to it. It's not gambling. You're not just throwing your money at any company that comes their way. That whole system. So yeah, altering it where we acknowledge that we have. It's not like don't do system 1. It's fine sometimes to work from intuition. Sometimes intuition can save us, but we have to acknowledge where it could also be blinding us to certain things and think through it and come up with, when it's not a matter of life and death and you don't have to decide whether to step off the cliff or not. It's better to think it through. Maybe even then.
And even the substitution question works because sometimes it's overwhelming. The question that we ask, very larger context, like Miss India type of context, what do you want to do, change the world type. But if you simplify it to a context, it becomes easier for people to respond. So it's very important to change the question sometimes, and then, or
and
like you said, the dating and
question, I mean, substituting question is one thing. I would actually, when you talk about Miss Universe and Miss India, I'm suddenly thinking substitution answers too. It's easier to give this large encompassing answer than specifics. When you, suddenly say, oh, I want world peace. You tell them, how will you go about it? I mean, that becomes a tougher answer.
Right, exactly. That's true. It's like if you want to change the world, learn to to make your bed in the morning. If you want to make a difference, first thing, make your bed. If you're not making your bed in the morning, you're not going to do much. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
And this statement hurts a lot of people because they're not doing it. Making your bed in the morning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
What's opening up for you, Meryl, since you've suddenly jumped into this book at this point, and so I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I know I have not been reading it so faithfully as the other books, but I do remember the discussion we had on System 1 versus System 2 in the initial times. And I do feel that the various ecosystems that we are part of, they encourage more of a System 1 response. So like, for instance, in schools, you have a lot of quiz contests and a lot of things where speed is more important than really like thinking about something.
Yeah.
So and there's a kind of FOMO, even if you go to maybe a get together or some other kind of public forum where there are a lot of people, and those who speak a lot and speak the loudest are always become authorities on things, and you kind of find that there's not much depth in what they're saying. But and then there's also this whole thing of extroverts versus introverts, and I think all of it sort of connects a little bit to everybody wanting to participate in the format of System 1. But it's good to, I don't know, take a step back and fight that FOMO which is there, and it's quite an effort, really, you know. So it's good it's good that we are talking about it in a like some sort of a model, you know, so we can discuss it more objectively, you know. But yeah, I think it's good to be aware that in which system are we responding and why are we responding, right? Which also connects to how we think about financial.
What's opening up me from what you're saying. From what you're saying, Meryl, actually what's opening was also a connection to our previous book, the Warren Buffett Invest Like a Girl.
Yeah.
That one, because I find when you talk about, you know, people talking a lot and louder, I think are right. You find that confidence also, there is a gender thing to it. The confidence in even things that you don't know, as compared to having saying maybe I don't have the full picture even when you know a lot. There is a gender divide. It's not always, there are the exceptions always, but in general, you find that many more men tend to just authority about things that they hardly know enough about. And I wonder sometimes where that confidence comes from. Like, how can you talk about something you hardly know? Is it in our upbringing? Is it the way we're brought up, or any, you know, allows people, I don't know, the male child to say with authority, even if 2 minutes later to be proved wrong, it's okay. Go ahead, say it with authority. That thing, where is that coming? Because since there are exceptions, it proves the rule, I think. I don't know.
No, it comes both from upbringing and also work politics, where men get to speak with more authority. I mean, in general, there are that glass ceiling is very real. So once that is there, they presume in all domains and all knowledge systems, they know more. It happens, and I know many people like that.
Yeah.
Society and
they're expected to know. Right? They cannot not know. Not knowing is not an option. Yeah?
I think men are under pressure to know everything, and women are under pressure to, you know, find some space and not get interrupted.
Right. Absolutely.
There's a cool meme done by, you know, on the Daily Soap. I'll share it with y'all in the group, you know, where this lady is mansplaining how men mansplain, you know. And then there's this guy, the hostess continues to interrupt her. And then she keeps interrupting him. And then he says, please stop interrupting me. And she says, I think you're just crazy. Why are you being so crazy, you know? It's just perfect. It's like connects to this conversation so well.
Oh God,
you must share that. And coming to what, you know, Meryl, you brought out about, System 1, where as we see patriarchy similarly, you know, we see that how when someone's fast versus someone's easy. I wouldn't say there is nothing like slow or fast, but, you know, someone's just taking it easy at their pace versus someone really wanting to accomplish fast and more. And the introverts versus the ones who are expressive. So our system 1 operates, and that's what the book talks about, right? Making judgments. So we instantly make that judgment that because this person is fast, this person is a performer, this person is going to deliver, and okay, so someone who's taking it easy certainly is not the one who's a performer. So yeah, so these are also the kind of judgments that naturally come about. And I'm sure we would have seen that. So yeah.
Anyway, Shweta. Shweta's been there for so much of this book, for all the chapters so far.
Yeah, actually, I don't have much to say right now. I'm into learning stage. I'm just trying to analyze what things are coming. So I don't have much to say right now. I just wanted to understand what exactly this book is trying to say. So more focus on that thing right now.
So today I kind of, went through both the chapters together. And what opened for me is that I need to read this book, or rather it got me to that, got to be curious about my own mind or our own minds. That's what this book is all about. Am I curious enough about my mind, about how it operates, in which situation, how I think, what it gets me to think, and what more is there? Yeah, what kind of questions can bring in more curiosity, and what will help me see things differently. That's what I kind of got present to. Yeah. Yeah. Meena, Nema, Usha, anything that's got your attention and interest so far in the book?
Yeah, sorry, Hira. Actually, I listen half. My network was not stable, so I wouldn't be able to say anything now. Yeah, but
Sure.
I'm enjoying part of conversation which Merit was talking about. Yeah,
Your
I
voice
guess.
is not very clear, Usha.
Yeah,
You may want to turn off your video. Maybe then it'll be better. Please go ahead.
Please go ahead. No, I was saying my
Okay.
I think we lost her.
Yeah, I think the network, right?
Between Usha's network issues and my laptop issues, my goodness. That's why I'm on the phone. My laptop and Zoom have this compatibility issue. Yeah. Right. So what we were thinking here is that this is an extremely academic book. So we're not going to go through the whole thing chapter by chapter the way we were doing for the other books. It gets very tedious. So this way of like summarizing a chapter and discussing seems to work. And this has a few sections. So after this chapter 9, it goes into a section 2, which those of us who are interested can go ahead and do it on our own. But in the interest of the book club, I don't think we should, because it is far more. It's about artistic biases, and it goes in like a very academic, it's almost like a whole section 2. So the book is there in the resource library. So people are welcome to read it. But part 3, which is on overconfidence, like we will just share excerpts chapters as we go through the week. Everyone, as you're reading it in part 3, which is on overconfidence, I think it starts with chapter 19, the illusion of understanding. So if you want to go into the book on the thing, and as you read, please share on the Telegram group, because any insights you have on the chapter, anything, so we can analyze it, and those who find it hard to read can actually take from the excerpts that we are sharing and discuss. Doesn't have to be that they are reading the page. And please don't not show up to the book club thinking I haven't enough. It's perfectly all right. We will discuss it. We will share with you. So the part 3, I'm trying to see how far it goes. So part 3 goes from chapter 19 to chapter 24.
Right.
So over the course of this week, I am like loudly committing to everyday sharing, like a synopsis or a excerpt from one of the six chapters. Five chapters, six chapters. So it's 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 6 chapters. So go ahead.
This book is on the PDF is available on the book as a
Yes.
source, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Margie, the book, the
Sorry.
PDF is available.
My phone is trying to get some pollen. Let me just check that and come back.
Sure, sure. So yes, Margie, the book is available in the resource, in the library. Yeah, the Money Book Club library.
I'll try and access it. If I can't, I'll tell Kaveri to at least share that PDF with me, and if I can, and then I'll try and read it, because I can't join the Telegram book because my phone is not on here, only
Okay.
the WhatsApp.
Sure.
So that I'll join a month later when I get back.
All right.
But I'd like to read the book. It's very intriguing. It's difficult, but I feel, how can I not read it? I'm very, very intrigued by the book. So I have to read it at some point. So I'll try to get that.
Yeah, please do. And one thing which I noticed so far is that what is very unique about this book is that each chapter brings in a concept. It's not that if I haven't read the previous chapter, I would not really get something from this one. That is something which
Can be
is
standalone. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's true.
The chapter could be standalone. And as we progressed, and I think while we were deciding which part should we now pick, and we would want to now commence the book as in the next 2 weeks within the month. And hence we felt that, okay, let's look at overconfidence. And one of the sub pointers here also talks about the illusion of stock picking skill. So what really is that skill?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there is a particular pointer, and I kind of felt, all right, now this is really going to get our minds
you really need to read this book. Yeah.
our minds interested, and to really look at, okay, how does our mind operate when we're looking at picking our stocks, making our investments. So that's something which is interesting here. So yes.
Yeah, I'll try and get to it.
Sure.
So the part 3 is on overconfidence, part 4 on choices, and part 5 on 2 selves, not just 2 systems, but on 2 selves. So we will work on synopsis and discussion and excerpts rather than reading page by page together is our workout. We do have another 20 minutes here. If you want to, we can start on part 3 of the overconfidence, a little bit of reading if you want to. Ida, I think page, I'm looking at my actual book here.
Right.
So 196, 197. 197, I think you have to get to.
Okay.
Chapter 19 starting to 198.
Right. So shall we begin with chapter 19? Perhaps maybe take a couple of pages we could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is everyone in with the idea? So shall we begin? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for this partnership, and let me just okay. Okay, I will just take another minute, it looks like, till I get to the understanding. When you're on the PDF, it doesn't really give you. Okay. Chapter 19. I'm glad I have the book to be able to figure out the illusion of understanding.
Are the numberings different, Ida?
Yes, yes,
think
I found it. Thank you for your patience. And the chapter is here. Actually, just the cursor and it vanishes. Oh. I will just take another minute. Okay. Here you go. Yes. So who would like to begin with the first chapter from part 3, overconfidence, which is the illusion of understanding? Yeah. Who hasn't read in a while? Margie, may I invite you? Is this? Okay, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay,
Can
I'll
you
try
see?
and read because, yeah.
Is
The
it clear?
trader philosophers, the illusion of understanding.
Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are. Thank you.
The trader philosopher statistician Nassim Taleb could also be considered a psychologist. In The Black Swan, Taleb introduced the notion of a narrative fallacy to describe how flawed stories in the past shape our views of the world and our expectations for the future. Narrative fallacies arise inevitably from our continuous attempt to make sense of the world. The explanatory stories that people find compelling are simple, are concrete rather than abstract, assign a larger role to talent, stupidity, and intentions than to luck, and focus on a few striking events that happened rather than on countless events that failed to happen. Any recent salient event is a candidate to become the kernel of a causal narrative. Taleb suggests that we humans constantly fool ourselves by constructing flimsy accounts of the past and believing they are true. Good stories provide a simple and coherent account. A compelling narrative fosters an illusion of uh, inevitability. Consider the story of how Google turned into a giant of the technology industry. Two creative graduate students in the computer science department at Stanford University came up with a superior way of searching information on the internet. They seek and obtain funding to start a company and make a series of decisions that work out well. Within a few years, the company they started is one of the most valuable stocks in America, and the two former graduate students are among the richest people on the planet. On one memorable occasion, they were lucky, which makes the story even more compelling. A year after founding Google, they were willing to sell the company for less than 1 million, but the buyer said the price was too high. Mentoring the simple, the Mentioning the single lucky incident actually makes it easier to underestimate the multitude of ways in which luck affected the outcome. A detailed history would specify the decisions of Google founders, but for our purpose, it suffices to say that almost every choice they made had a good outcome. A more complete narrative would describe the actions of the firms that the Google defeated. The hapless competitors would appear to be blind, slow, and altogether inadequate in dealing with the threat that eventually overwhelmed them. I intentionally told this tale blandly, but you get the idea. There is a very good story here. Fished, Fleshed out in more detail, the story could give you the sense that you understand what made Google succeed. It could also make you feel that you have earned a valuable general lesson about what makes businesses succeed. Unfortunately, there is good reason to believe that your sense of understanding and learning from the Google story is largely illusory. The ultimate test of an explanation is whether it would have made the event predictable in advance. No story of Google's, unlike successes, will meet that test because unique success will be. Because no story can include the myriad events that would have caused a different outcome. The human mind does not deal well with non events. The fact that many of the important events that did occur involve choices further tempt you to exaggerate the role of skill and underestimate the part that luck played in the outcome. Because every critical decision turned out well, the record suggests almost flawless prescience. But bad luck could have disrupted any one of the successful steps. The halo effect adds to the final touch, leading an aura of invincibility to the heroes of the story. Should I stop and should we discuss or should I read on?
Sure, we can certainly discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The halo effect.
Yeah. Anything particularly has connected with anyone? Please share. So with the Google story, he's talking about
Basically how much we keep saying it's their hard work and their great idea, but they took so many decisions along the way which could have affected it other ways. And I mean, they tried to sell it off well under what it's valued. Luckily that buyer thought it was still too high, otherwise it would have gone out of their hands. They wouldn't be as rich as they are now. So there was luck, and so many other things that could have gone wrong didn't go wrong and went right. And we tend to give ourselves a lot of credit when things go right and blame luck a lot when things go wrong. I think that really strikes me. Yeah. So if it had ended up with them losing things and the Google going into someone else and taken over by someone, we could have said, oh, what bad luck they had. But when things went right and they tried to make wrong decisions, but luckily luck went on their side and those decisions didn't work out, and which is why they're so rich. We keep giving them the credits rather than luck.
Right.
It's a halo effect.
Right.
We
So
underestimate how much luck plays.
So because they're successful, so how smart they are, how talented they are, how intelligent they are, and how they worked so hard to make this possible, make this happen.
I mean, all of that could still be true, but the luck plays a huge role in that, because there are lots of very talented, very smart people with very good ideas who don't get rich because bad decisions, something happens, luck isn't on their side. So, and that's never come out in the open, and we never get to know about it because it didn't luck out there. So
and
there are
also how much money plays a so important a part in the world today, that things may have worked out, but they may not have been so rich. The story wouldn't have been told, or a story wouldn't have been so interesting. So the equating success to monetary success is a very, very strong part of our lives now. I mean, I feel of the world now. People look at how well you've done money-wise, even if your idea has worked and you've contributed. If you haven't made a pile of money, the world doesn't look at you as a success. So I think that's a very important.
Everyone talks about Google. Like, we know who started Google, we know how successful they were, but who started Ubuntu? Talks about the success of Ubuntu. It's a free source platform and they didn't make any money on it, but it's still very successful. Nobody talks about it because it is not a money maker.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Who would like to take this on? We still have 6 more minutes. Maybe for another 2-3 minutes, we could perhaps read 2 more pages.
I could read Hira if you want.
Sure, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
next time I'll wear my specs. I'm just guessing mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure,
Like
Kaveri.
watching a skilled rafter avoiding one potential calamity after another as he goes down the rapids. The unfolding of the Google story is thrilling because of the constant risk of disaster. However, there is FOP what? There is FOP an instructive difference between the two cases. The skilled rafter has gone down the rapids hundreds of times. He has learned to read the roiling water in front of him and to anticipate obstacles. He has learned to make the tiny adjustments of posture that keep him upright. There are fewer opportunities for young men to learn how to put a giant and chance to avoid hidden rocks, such as a brilliant innovation by a competing firm. Of course, there was a great deal of skill in the Google story, but luck played a more important role in the actual event than it does in the telling of it. And the more luck was involved, the less there is to learn. Is that powerful Vaisayati rule. What you see is all there is rule. You can't help dealing with the limited information you have as if it were all there is to know. You build the best possible story from the information available to you. And if it is a good story, you believe it. Paradoxically, it is easier to construct a coherent story when you know little. When there are fewer pieces to fit into the puzzle, our comforting conviction that the world makes sense rests on its secure foundation. Our almost unlimited ability to ignore our ignorance. I've heard too many people who knew well before it happened that the 2008 financial crisis was inevitable. The sentence contains a highly objectionable word, which should be removed from our vocabulary in discussions of major events. The word is, of course, knew. Some people thought well in advance that there would be a crisis, but they did not know it. They now say they knew it because the crisis did in fact happen. This is a misuse of the important concept. In everyday language, we apply the word know only when what was known is true and can be shown to be true. We can know something only if it is both true and knowable. But the people who thought there would be a crisis, and there are fewer of them than now remember thinking it, could not conclusively show it at the time. Many intelligent and well-informed people were keenly interested in the future of the economy and did not believe a catastrophe was imminent. I infer from this fact that the crisis was not knowable. What is perverse about the use of know in this context is not that some individuals get credit for prescience that they do not deserve. It is that the language implies that the world is more knowable than it is. It helps perpetrate a promiscuous, no,
Pernicious.
pernicious illusion. Yeah, a pernicious illusion. The core of the illusion is that we believe we understand the past, which implies that the future also should be knowable. But in fact, we understand the past less than we believe we do. Know is not the word that fosters this illusion. In common usage, the word intuition and premonition also are reserved for past thoughts that turned out to be true. The statement, I had a premonition that the marriage would not last, but I was wrong, sounds odd, as does any sentence about an intuition that turned out to be false. To think clearly about the future, we need to clean up the language we use in labeling the beliefs we had in the past. I think we'll stop here because we have in 2 minutes thing, and it's the social cost of. Now I'll have to go on and read it. My goodness.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Light since I have my copy, which has tiny print, but.
Kaveri, it was. You may want to go off video since it's difficult. The voice is not very clear. You may want
Okay.
to try.
Yeah. Okay. So I have very small print in my book. So I will, after this, even the book club is over, I'm going to sit with the book, but under bright light and read it.
Right.
And hopefully get some
I'll
dinner
try
later.
and access it. I'll try and access it, Kaveri. Otherwise, I'll ask your help to get the PDF. Let me see. I'll try in the next half hour.
Yeah.
And I'm very intrigued by the book
I mean,
now.
you have access to the library. I can send you the access to the Manijam library. I mean, the
Yeah,
resource
I
library
just,
of the
I think
book
I
club.
do. I think it's there in the, but I haven't really checked it. I took a cursory look, but I'll check in the, send me the link again for the book.
Yeah.
And I'll try and read it. I have time and I'm very curious.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Lovely to have you all here. So good to see you here again, Meryl. It's lovely.
Yeah.
And Shweta, you're a champ. Really. She comes faithfully every week. She's here. Good for her.
How wonderful.
Yeah. All right.
Great
So
to have
thank
you here, Margie. Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Okay.
Goodbye. Have a good
Bye.
week.
Thank you,
so much.
everyone.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
looking forward to another week, and let's really inviting everyone to please, yeah. And this portion
Sure.
definitely seems far more interesting. So let's pick this up and keep sharing in the book club too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's interact on the Telegram group. We have that through the week.
The new
Yeah.
format is really nice. It's pretty
Yeah.
format is really nice.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye bye. Thank you.